So welcome back to Cancer Soothe. My name's Julie Mason and I set up Cancer Soothe to help and inspire other people with cancer to know they don't have to fear a terminal prognosis or any cancer prognosis, and that cancer can certainly be healed by changing your lifestyle choices. And so anyway, today's a rather special day for me because a huge part of my decision and my success was in joining Chris Wark from www.chrisbeatcancer.com in doing his Square One program. Now, Chris will be joining us soon on Zoom. But first of all, can I please say that I'm really sorry that this particular recording is later than planned, because the thing is, I've had to get a job, guys. I'm now working for UK's integrative cancer charity Yes to Life. I'm working for their Wigwam project, helping to create support groups for people with cancer. So please just accept the fact that the videos are going to be less, but meanwhile they're going to be hopefully of good quality with people like Chris. So let me explain a little bit about Chris. Chris has 3 books, 2 of which are here because the next one's about to come out. So Chris Beat Cancer and Chris Beat Cancer Daily. I'm going to read just a little bit on the back of this one so that if you don't know Chris, which there can't be many of you that don't, I'll read out what it says on the back of the book here. At 26 years old, Chris Wark was diagnosed with stage 3C colon cancer. After he was rushed into surgery, doctors told Chris that he needed 9 to 12 months of chemotherapy in order to prevent a recurrence. But Wark listened to his instincts and intuition and made the courageous decision to forego chemotherapy, instead choosing to radically change his diet and lifestyle and pursue natural non-toxic therapies to heal his body. So Chris is quite an inspiration to me, and I think you'll understand once you go on to watch the video. So without much more ado, let's move over to the video and I'll see you the other side. Hello, Chris. It's really, really kind of you to be here today to help spread the message of how you basically were my guiding light in healing from a terminal prognosis, along with the work of Dr. Rosie Daniel, integrative doctor here in the UK. So you're on loads of my Cancer Soothe videos, so I think that most people will probably get to know a bit about you by now. What I'd really like us to talk about is how I found you and how I got going working with you and all the wonderful work that you do.
That sounds great, and I'm really glad to be hanging out with you. Oh. And yeah, I'm excited to hear your story. I know obviously we've talked before, but just so proud of you. I'm just, it's you are the reason I do what I do. Right? That's it. I do what I do because when I was facing cancer in 2003, 2004, I was very alone. I didn't have any support really, and I just had to go from book to book, and it was hard. It was just hard to figure it all out. And there wasn't one great resource to help me, and I had to sort of cobble together a plan to change my life. So I just decided about 6.5 years after my diagnosis to start chrisbeatcancer.com. Just trying to be a light in the dark for people. And so, yeah, every time I hear a story about someone that I was able to encourage in some way or help in some way, it just reminds me that I'm doing the right thing. Yeah,
you certainly are. Well, you're certainly an inspiration to me. I just realized, being a bit of a newbie at all these videos, that I haven't got me on the screen as well. So I'm just going to change the view here. So it might help people, for both of us, to be on it. There we go. Mind you, I think you look far better on these videos than I do, but there we go.
You look great.
So the one thing that we do have in common is we were both given our prognosis literally just before Christmas. Mm. So you all those years back, me in 2016. So mine was after a routine hysterectomy. I went in to solve my lady problems, came out with being told that I was going to die of cancer. So within a very short window between Christmas and the 4th of January, I found my chemo book filled in from all those years back. So I thought I'd look at the dates to see where finding you slotted in on my journey. So having the benefit of private medical insurance, I started chemo on the 4th of January in the following year. It's like I was in shock. Whatever day, however many days they could give me over and above what I might have with or without chemo, I thought I had to do for the life of my 11-year-old. So yeah, I did 2 rounds of carbotaxol. So every 3 weeks, I was meant to do one. It was awful, Chris. 2 out of those weeks I'd be spent in bed. It had panic attacks, ambulances, the works. And the weirdest thing is, I was meant to go for my 3rd on the 15th of February, 2017. That was a very auspicious day for me because your Square One Pro modules were being aired for free on the internet on that 15th.
That was the very first time I put them online for free.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, in the morning, I was in tears in front of the nurses about to give my 3rd infusion, saying I couldn't do it, made the really difficult decision to come home. And of course, I came home to the start of you explaining the 10 modules of the Square One program. And, feeling really emotional now. It was a breath of fresh air. So, I wasn't expecting this. I thought I could hold this together, Chris. I'll just take a deep breath. Oh, God. Here we go. So on that first module, you encouraged us to look at our life, take a hard, long look of how you got to be there in terms of the diagnosis. And in doing so, the bottom line was that I had to take responsibility if I was to heal. So I'd already decided that day, right, they told me chemo's not going to cure me, it might buy me more time. What the can I do to heal, to turn this around? I had no intentions of dying. I was prepared to take responsibility. So yeah, module 1. What can you say about it?
That is, the reason I talk about those things in the first module is because they really are the most important things that a patient needs to know, is that the body created cancer and the body can heal it. Doctors aren't telling patients you can heal. They're telling them we can treat you, maybe you'll live longer, things like that. And the truth is you can heal, but that responsibility is a huge part of that, right? So believing you can heal, number 1, and then number 2, looking at your life and taking responsibility for your choices. And I had the revelation that the way I was living was killing me. So I say this all the time, and so some people get offended by that notion. Oh, you're saying this is my fault? But the truth is, most of our decisions in life create our life. Your decisions in the past led you to be where you are today. And sometimes we just don't make good decisions. We think we're making good decisions and they're bad ones, right? Or we know we're making bad decisions and we do them anyway. And so it's very empowering. It's not to make someone feel ashamed of their decisions or guilty, but it's this empowering idea that you can start making different decisions today that will affect your future, that will improve your odds of healing or decrease your odds of ever getting cancer. So yeah, that's what module 1's all about.
Yeah. And then, of course, the next day, the next module comes out. I should tell people you have, is it 2 free airings of Square One a year? Is it 2 now?
Yeah, more 2, sometimes 2, sometimes 2 to 4.
Yeah, and wow. So number 2, the next one, the next day, was why you have cancer and how to eliminate the causes. And now, that explains a lot of things, but for me, I suppose the thing that picked up my ears was in my early 20s, I did have my first ever smear test was abnormal. So they detected cancerous cells and had to have treatment then. And of course, now, decades later, there's the possibility that there's probably the human papillomavirus there, which all it took was later on in life for me to have constant stress so that my immunity was suppressed. And hey ho, there goes cancer, doesn't it? And so that module does explain more about the body and how it works and how maybe the cancer started.
Yeah, well, it's like, for folks that don't know who I am, as a survivor and patient advocate, I'm trying to bridge the gap, right, between the medical establishment and the holistic health movement. And because there's a huge gap, and it doesn't need to be there, because most of what we talk about in holistic healing can be integrated right into a patient's life, right? And I said no to chemotherapy. You walked away from chemotherapy, but that isn't required, right? We have a lot of people in our community that do chemotherapy, but they're also doing all these other things that help them survive and thrive. So, but the point of what I'm getting at is, if you don't know the causes of your problem, how in the world are you going to solve it? Cancer is a problem. There are causes to cancer. And if you're just treating the causes without identifying and if you're just treating the symptoms without identifying and eliminating the causes, you probably are not going to get well. So the example that everyone would understand is, if water is dripping from your ceiling, right, you can put a bucket under it to prevent damage to your floors, right? That's like treating the symptom, right? But you really need to get up on the roof and find the hole and plug the leak, or find the plumbing pipe in your attic that has a pinhole leak that's leaking and dripping down through. So if you don't investigate the causes of your problems, you'll never solve them. They will persist. So this applies to cancer. And module 2, why you have cancer, is a comprehensive explanation on all of the known causes of cancer. I mean, it's not every single one, but all the major causes of cancer that doctors aren't even telling their patients this stuff.
Yeah, and it was helpful for me because part of my protocol later on was homeopathy, looking at all the viruses that we potentially had to deal with, and HPV was on that.
Right. So, there are viral causes, dietary, environmental, stress, right? So there's a lot of causes of cancer, and you've got to be able to connect the dots, right? And once you can connect the dots and, oh, well, that's in my life, that's in my life, that's in my life. So for me, I realized, man, there's a lot of cancer causing stuff in my life. There's a lot of stuff in my life that is not just cancer causing, but health destroying factors in my life, disease promoters in my life. And so by systematically removing them and replacing those disease promoters with health promoters, guess what happens? Your health improves.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the next one, module 3. Now this is the biggie, 3 and 4. This one's that you're most well known for, really, isn't it? You're, well, basically implementing an anti-cancer diet, which, plug, you've got a new book coming out soon, all about...
Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah. Beat Cancer Kitchen is a plant-based cookbook coming out November 16th.
Yeah, that'll be on my Christmas list. So the diet. Now you spent 2 modules going through a typical day, suggesting what people eat, what they shouldn't eat. And for me, I must admit, I made even more of a challenge because my integrative doctor suggested that I even went alkaline. So I was doing everything that you did, plus going alkaline for the first year. And of course, I kept doing what you did for 2-3 years. And here onwards, actually, okay, I eat some good quality meat now and again now. But that really, I think, was a really important thing to do in order to what I later on found out with all about restoring the gut biome. But yeah, so tell me about food succinctly, Chris, because you could probably spend hours on it.
Food can either promote health or disease. That's the deal. Like, what you're putting in your mouth will either promote health or disease. And we are surrounded by so much disease promoting food. It's everywhere, because many of us live in countries that are rich, for lack of a better word. When you live in a country that's a rich country, there's food everywhere. And so when you have food everywhere, you have giant manufacturing companies that are creating processed food, fast food, and junk food, and it's very convenient. And it's loaded with sugar, salt, and oils, and artificial flavors, colors, additives, preservatives. So, and this is horrible food, okay? And it's everywhere. So that is leading us down a path of disease. In addition to that, eating excess amounts of meat and dairy. Animal food is not unhealthy in small amounts, but it is unhealthy in large amounts. And we're eating, meat 3 times a day, and dairy too. And I talk about this a lot in my book and in Square One, and even in the new cookbook, there's a section about this. But animal protein fuels cancer growth in a number of ways. And so the default diet for health, if you really are serious about health and healing or cancer prevention, is a plant-based diet, because there are hundreds of thousands of studies on the anti-cancer nutrients in fruits and vegetables. And it just, the more you research, the more obvious it becomes. It's like, I need to eat tons of fruits and vegetables. That's what I need to do to help myself and to keep a steady supply of vitamins, minerals, enzymes, antioxidants, and all these amazing phytonutrients. These are nutrients only found in plant food. You want these circulating in your blood throughout your body every single day, all day. The thing is, when you eat a healthy meal, the benefit you get from that meal might last you half a day, right? The nutrients you get from that meal. Some of them might help you for maybe 24 hours, certain nutrients in food. But a lot of them will help you for a very short window of time, and then that help is over. And so, just an easy example, the half-life of vitamin C in the body is something like 30 minutes, right? So if you take vitamin C, most of it is used up within an hour and a half to 2 hours. So half of it is gone in 30 minutes. So one healthy meal is marginally helpful, but when you're overdosing, as I call it, overdosing on nutrition every single day, you develop this healing momentum. So every day, you're putting more good stuff in, more good stuff in, more good stuff in. You're nourishing your cells in a way you never had before. You're strengthening your immune system. And this is really what it's all about, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. If you're sick in any of those areas of your life, your immune system will be suppressed. And they all have to be addressed. But right now we're just talking about the physical stuff, which is the food. And so yes, fruits and vegetables strengthen your immune system. They optimize your immune system. They enable your immune cells to kill cancer cells. That's pretty important. The difference between a person with tumors and a person with no tumors is their immune system. And most of us, unless you're born with an immune system defect, that's very rare. Most of us are born with very strong immune systems, but they become weaker over time because of our diet and lifestyle choices and because of stress. So, which of course I talk about in other modules in the course.
Yeah. I must admit, my family knew that my one main vice in life has always been food. I just love good food and drink. So when I started doing all of this, they couldn't believe it when I'd be out for a meal with them. And I quite often have barely anything on the menu, because I knew I'd look at the menu and could see the poison that was in it. But
well, I'll tell you one other thing. Sorry to interrupt, but I adopted a raw food diet for 90 days, only raw fruits and vegetables, all organic. And there was something unexpected. There was an unexpected benefit I got from doing that, which was psychological. And the psychological benefit was I realized, wait a second, if I can do this, right? If I can make this massive change in my life, what else can I change? Mm. And that was so empowering to me. And then I set about changing more things, right? Well, I've changed this. What else can I change? What else can I fix, right? And so I just got into this mode where I was just obsessively sounds like a negative word, but obsessively fixing my life for the better, improving it.
Yeah.
What's that?
I was the same.
Yeah. Improving it for the better. And everything becomes illuminated and you realize this is good for me. This is not. That's got to go. So that's the power of making those physical changes. And I like to, I say this all the time. Anyone can change their diet overnight. Yeah. Anybody can do that. Overnight, you can change your diet.
Yeah.
Right. You can choose what to put in your mouth. Like you're not a slave to your food addictions. Like you can break those addictions. And when you do that, you empower yourself to change other things in your life.
And people don't realize how addictive a lot of what they think healthy food actually is, do they? The amount of things that have the sugar, the gluten, it's in everything. And yeah, sugar was the most difficult one to give up. And yeah, but once you've done it and it's out of your system, everything tastes sweeter, doesn't it? Things that you take for granted, an apple tastes different, everything tastes different. And the most staggering thing for me was the fact that it heightens a lot of your senses in terms of how you see the world. You feel lighter, happier, as different chemicals are starting to flood through your body from all the goodness of what you're eating.
That should not be underestimated, right? I mean, you are eating chemicals, right? And the word chemical is not necessarily bad. There can be a healthy chemical, right, or a unhealthy chemical. But you're eating molecules, you're eating chemicals when you eat. And some of those interfere with your brain chemicals, right? They can cause chemical imbalances in your brain and your body and make you feel bad. And you don't realize, I feel tired all the time. I have no energy. I'm depressed. A lot of people don't make this connection that, hey, the food you're eating may be the cause of that. In many cases, it is.
And I tell you something, knowing that 70 to 80% of our immune system is in the gut all the way down, it's given me more confidence going out with all this supposed COVID everywhere, in knowing that even if I got it, I felt safe that everything was going to be okay. And my daughter brought it home and I was okay. I wasn't anything like she was. I was tired, sure, and my tummy was affected. But that to me was just a sign that it was battling what she had gone under with. And yeah, I was so proud of myself. So I knew that hard work was paying off.
It was. Well, and that's the beautiful thing, is that the holistic approach to health it's not focused on one disease or one symptom. It's healing the whole body. It's creating optimal health head to toe. And so the things you do to strengthen your immune system against cancer also strengthen it against infectious disease, viruses, bacteria, fungus, parasites. So, unlike conventional medicine, where it's like, oh, this drug is for this specific problem and this other drug is for that problem. We don't look at it that way in the holistic community. We look at, let's just heal your whole body. Your body's capable of healing. Let's support its ability to heal.
Yeah. It's really powerful, isn't it? When you come out the other side and you start to experience that. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Number 5 was how to detoxify your body and environment. So the first thing I did after watching that module was I went out and bought a Barkey water filter, because I realized, right, for years I hadn't drunk enough water, and that all made sense. So I still drink loads of water. I bought the slightly smaller size one. So when I travel, I take it with me to people's houses, even for the weekend, near my filter. And basically detoxifying everything. So we talked about eating clean. So that obviously detoxifies along with the water. One of the big things I did was I actually moved house, because I was living on a main road and I could see a lot of the fine black particles and everything for quite a few years. And I've been concerned about my baby at the time, breathing in those, and it just brought it home, right? I've got to move away from there, get to a place that was healing on lots of different levels. So being aware of that, I think, really helped. Plus the obvious ones, like what you put on your body, the detergents, but also exercise to get everything moving out of my system. Obviously the lymph was a big issue, getting that all moving, getting everything to become clean and detoxified. Yeah, rebounding.
That one of the things I talk about in the detoxification module is your body's always detoxifying, right? It's designed to do it. But you can develop a toxic overload problem if you are consuming more toxic stuff than your body has the ability to detoxify, right? It can only detoxify at a certain rate. You know what I mean? If you imagine your body as a factory with a set number of workers, right? A set number of workers in a factory can only build so many cars per day, right? Doesn't matter how many parts you throw down the assembly line, they can only build so many cars. And so your body can only detoxify so much in any moment, hour, day. And we're unknowingly consuming a lot of toxic stuff in processed food, in our air, in our water, and putting body care products on our skin. And I'm so glad to hear that you moved, because that's a big change. And a lot of folks, think, oh, I can't move, it's too much trouble. But when you, like you said, you looked around and you saw, black soot or dirt or whatever from all of the exhaust. Automobile exhaust is very toxic stuff, right? And so carcinogenic. And getting away from, or getting yourself out of a toxic environment is very important. And there's a lot of professions, a lot of occupations that, put people around toxic fumes and chemicals and dirt and soot, smoke, and even hairdressers are exposed to have a higher rate of cancer because they're exposed to a lot of toxic fumes from dyes and bleaches and straighteners and all these hair products. So yeah, detoxification is a big part of healing. And again, this goes back to that thing I said earlier, which is you have to identify the causes, right? The potential causes of disease in your life, and understanding toxic stuff in your environment, what they are, and figuring out, are you exposed to them? And if so, eliminating that exposure or reducing it. Every little bit helps. Like every little step you can take to reduce your toxic load gives your body a break, right? It makes it easier for your liver and your immune system to focus on the important things like cancer or viruses, right?
Yeah. So number 6, I think for me, this was probably the biggest event, the biggest one that helped change, give me the courage to make biggest changes. And that was how to eliminate stress and heal your heart. So for me, the ongoing stress that I'd been experiencing was twofold. It was being in an unhappy marriage for a very long time, and having been building a business for 4 years leading up to the prognosis. So all of it was constant, day by day by day, really heavy stressors. And
major stress from a relationship that's failing and trying to build a business. Those are huge.
Yeah. But alongside of that, when I got my diagnosis, I always wondered, because I've got a brother and sister, one's a year older and one's younger, and through all the years they'd abused themselves with all the classics, smoking, drugs. I was always the good girl. I always did everything right. So the why me was never be there. And I think what that module taught me was, alongside the stress, if you're carrying negative emotion, because they were quite good at just ignoring stuff when it happened in life, where I would store anger. I wasn't forgiven very easily. And that combined with the stress, when you're holding all of that as well at the same time, that was my big weak spot that I realized I had to change. And I moved out of the marital home. I left my marriage when, that was supposedly my support system at the time. And I took charge. I didn't know what was going to happen. And I just left anything and everyone that brought my levels of survival down, basically.
That's so important that you did that. It's so important because, we were just talking about detoxifying your life. And one of the ways that you do that is you got to get away from toxic people. You know, there are people in your life that are, unfortunately, some of us have people in our life that are what a phrase I did not coin, emotional vampires, right? And they're just negative and critical and cynical, and they just constantly put you in a bad mood, right? They steal your joy, and through the things they say and the things that they do. And you got to get away from those people, because when they put you in a state of unhappiness, it suppresses your immune system. And so that being in a constant state of stress or worry or anxiety or bitterness or resentment or agitation, right? Or frustration, being in a constant negative emotional state keeps your immune system in a constant suppressed state. And that is a major barrier to healing. And I'm glad you talked about your siblings, because everybody's got a story like, well, I know a guy who smoked till he was 100, right? And smoked cigarettes and cigars and drank whiskey and all this kind of stuff. And that's true, right? There are people that engage in what we know are very unhealthy lifestyle behaviors, unhealthy diet, unhealthy lifestyle, never exercise. How do these people manage to live a long life without getting disease? And by the way, they're anomalies. This is not the norm. But how do these anomalies break through? Is it genetic? It might be, but the strongest case for that, to explain that phenomenon, is that these are people who are generally happier people. They do not hold on to anger. They don't stress and worry about things. And so they, in some ways, and it's not like they've never had difficulties. We all have difficulties. But these are people who, for whatever reason, have learned to let things go. Yeah. To not dwell in the past, to not worry about the future, and to enjoy each day. And so even though they may be enjoying each day a little too much, right? And definitely increasing the risk of a lot of problems, they've managed to skate through. And so again, that just goes to show you the power of stress. I mean, it really is so destructive. And you can do all the healthy stuff, the diet and exercise and all that, and avoid the cigarettes and alcohol and drugs. But if the stress piles up in your life, you know, that the more you accumulate, the more baggage that you accumulate in life, the more suppressive it is to your immune system and your health. And eventually there's going to be a tipping point.
It is interesting though, isn't it, how a lot of children from dysfunctional families, I mean, there was alcoholism and violence in my childhood, and my siblings haven't totally escaped from it. There's Crohn's disease on one side. That's another, you know, chronic illness, isn't it? And the other stuff is depression. It does come back and bite you unless you deal with it in some shape or format, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you know, all chronic disease, I mean, we're talking about the stress, you know, module 6 and how to eliminate stress, and all chronic disease really has root causes in stress, not just cancer. And so those chronic diseases manifest in different ways in different people. And when you show me someone with chronic disease, I will show you a person who's got some unresolved emotional conflicts in their life, some unresolved pain, unhealthy amounts of stress, whether it's worry, anxiety, and fear, or it's bitterness, regret, shame, guilt, anger. So this is the same, you know, I'm kind of like a broken record, because the answer that I give to every problem is always the same, the same answer, which is you have to identify the root causes, right? And in this case, the root causes, you have to identify the root causes of your stress and emotional pain. And if you don't, you will just continue to self-medicate with food, with drugs, with alcohol, right? With gambling, with running up your credit cards, with social media binging or TV binging, or, you know, all these unhealthy things we do. Did I say overeating? Anyway, that's a big one. But we self-medicate with all of these unhealthy lifestyle behaviors. to ease our pain.
Yeah.
And this is such an important part of the healing process, is to face down your pain, right? To face your flaws, your faults, and your failures, to forgive every person who's ever hurt you in life, one by name, to let them go, give them to God, and just say, they're all yours. Like, I'm not going to carry this anger anymore, right? I'm not going to carry the bitterness or resentment. I am releasing it from my life. And that's how you get to the root cause, right, of your pain. And when you solve the root cause through forgiveness, which is so powerful, then you find yourself in a place where you don't need the medication, right? So, and this is a reason why so many people have such a hard time, let's say, losing weight, because food is their medication. So a person can do a crash diet and lose some weight, some pounds or some kilograms, but inevitably they're going to go back to that unhealthy diet because that is their medication for their pain. So all this is about strengthening your immune system, because when you remove the stress and you solve your pain problem, you heal that emotional pain, you empower your immune system, right? You take the brakes off of your immune system.
Yeah, and of course, number 6 does neatly slide into number 7, which is spiritual healing. And of course, you make no secret out of the fact that you're a devout Christian. For me, even though I went through the church as such, going through all the steps, like when it came down to it, I've always felt connected to something larger. I've always had an issue with God, and maybe the fact that he's male, theoretically, and all these other things, but that's another conversation. For me, I found connecting to something larger than myself, I found easy. And for me, that was backed up by the works of people like Dr. Joe Dispenza. I found really helpful, and meditation. And but perhaps most importantly was help I was given by Dr. Rosie Daniel in understanding the importance of belief, the belief that I can actually heal. And I've described that in my other videos of being a simple black and white choice. You either believe that you can and you just step into another world, which I guess is the same with you and God, isn't it? You can't sort of believe in God. You either do or you don't. And the belief that I could heal, because I was connected to something far larger than we can possibly imagine the potential of, was undoubtedly, I believe, really, really important for my journey and my success.
I love that you said that. Belief really is where it all starts. A person who doesn't believe they can accomplish something, they won't even try, right? Whether it's putting together a bicycle or starting a business, right? Or learning how to play the guitar. If you don't believe it's possible, you're not going to do it. So if you don't believe healing is possible, or a person who doesn't believe healing is possible isn't going to try to get well. They're not going to change their life. And so one thing that I know you're trying to do, and I'm trying to do, is just help people, just help foster that very simple fundamental belief that the body can heal. And if you're just willing to, hopefully, and I've interviewed a lot of people who have survived advanced cancer against the odds. So what I've done, and of course I've interviewed a lot of doctors and experts, and I've written some books, and everything that I'm doing really at the core is just trying to foster that one belief in a person that they can get well, and that they have the power to change their life, and that there are things they can do that will help them heal. So yeah, that belief is huge. And for me, I got tremendous hope in my faith, and it's easy for me to believe that there's a God, because I look around at nature and I look at how perfectly nature is organized. The earth, sitting exactly where it sits in the solar system to sustain life, right? At an angle, rotating at the perfect speed to sustain life, to promote 4 seasons, right? I look at countless, I don't even know if humans know how many plants are on the earth. I don't know if we even have a total number, but all of the plants, all of the animals, right? I just look at all of that and I see perfect order. And so for me, it's just easy for me to see intelligent design when I look at the natural world. And so, and I got tremendous hope from this, teaching or just, I guess, the core fundamental teaching of Judeo-Christian thinking, which is that that God created us and He loves us, that He's our Heavenly Father. And to me, that just gives me so much hope and encouragement that it's not just some unknowable being, that it actually is, that God cares about every detail of your life. That to me, that just, that's overwhelming to me and wonderful. And again, gave me hope and courage to step out. It's one thing to think, well, if I take this huge risk, I've got no help and no support, versus, I'm going to take a big risk, but I'm also trusting that God's going to lead me and provide for me, and that resources and help will come to me from places I don't expect. Right. So to me, that's easy to believe. That was a much better prospect. And, I think people get confused a little bit about faith. Faith is just choosing to believe. That's all it is. It's not a mystical, mysterious thing. At the core, it's just choosing to believe, right? I'm going to step out in faith and choose to believe that God's going to work this out for my good. And there's a verse in the New Testament. James said in his letter, faith without works is dead.
Yeah.
Right. Well, what's works? That's action. Right. So if you have faith, if you believe something's possible, if you believe you can achieve something, and you're not willing to take any action, then your faith is dead. It's useless. Like you're not gonna achieve that thing. So you believe you can get well, and then you take action to help yourself get well. And for me, I was also just trusting God. There's another famous quote from, I credited to St. Augustine, but he might not have been the first one to say it. There's some debate on who actually said this first, but it's pray as if everything depends on God, and work as if everything depends on you.
Yeah. And of course, the minute we start to believe, we elevate our emotions, don't we? Because once you take that step into the unknown with belief, everything lifts, everything shifts.
Yeah.
So suddenly love is so much closer.
Yes.
And as we move through the emotions to reach love, we're operating day by day with the awareness of those heightened emotions. God, you feel so much better. You suddenly have the energy to start chopping all the veg, the energy to stop and do exercise, the energy to do square one.
That's right. That's right. When you're in that, some people would call it a higher vibrational state, but of love and hope. There are studies that show when a person has hope, and when a person has a sense of control over their life, right? When they're empowered and realize, I have control over my day, right? I don't have control over the past. I don't have control over the future, but I have control over today. Yeah. Both of those things, hope and a sense of control, shift your nervous system from sympathetic, which is stressed, fight or flight, into parasympathetic, which is rest and digest and heal. So there's a calming effect in your body. There's a peace that you have mentally, emotionally, physically, and that's the state you want to be in. That's the healing state, one that's at ease, at peace, and again has love and joy and hope. So I love it because not to use the word love twice in a sense, but I do love hearing you talk about it, because you you've reached the same conclusions that I reached, right, in your own journey. And even though, you know, you've gone through the Square One program and read my books and stuff, you've read a whole lot of other stuff too. And I think you've read enough to see that it's not just me saying these things, right?
You're still the springboard to make me go off and look at all these other things, because what you give everyone is a really clear outline that makes so much sense. That, yeah, so yeah, thank you, Chris. Yeah,
you're welcome.
Moving on was number 8, how exercise and rest activate healing. I mean, to begin with, after all that chemo, exercise wasn't the highest thing on my mind when you're recovering from a lot of treatment, but I got the rebounder. I was doing gentle, just little steps to begin with and building up. But where I moved to, I did have to move out of this apartment now and again to make money from Airbnb to survive. So that kept me fit, moving stuff up and down the stairs all the time. So I was quite forced to keep fit, just getting out and about, doing hyperbaric oxygen. And every day there's something to do, isn't there? Once you take charge and you start to know that you're doing productive things that are contributing towards healing. So my exercise came in different shapes and forms. But then when it came to rest, I think sleep is a really big issue when you first get a diagnosis, isn't it? How to turn off that monkey mind, as they say in meditational worlds. And yeah, those two things, of course, the more exercise you get, the easier it is to sleep. And, you know, there's definitely a healing point to the whole of Modulate.
Yeah. And, you know, you can be in a vicious cycle or a virtuous cycle. And the vicious cycle is you're not taking care of yourself. You're eating a very poor, unhealthy diet. You're drinking alcohol or smoking cigarettes, right? You're not exercising. Maybe you're taking some prescription medication. You're staying up too late. You're not getting enough sleep. You wake up the next day. You need caffeine to get going. You eat an unhealthy diet, right? And so you're just in this vicious cycle. But as you start to break the chains, right, of that cycle, right? First, you're changing your diet, right? Then you start exercising. The physical stuff is the easiest to do first, right? Then you start to feel a little better and you realize, oh, well, what else can I do? And then you start breaking your bad habits. And then you realize, okay, I need to go to bed earlier, right? Mm-hmm. And then you start getting more sleep, and then you wake up feeling refreshed, and your diet is giving you more energy to get through the day. And then now you're on the virtuous cycle, right? And so as that cycle continues, you get better and better and better, versus the vicious cycle, you get worse and worse and worse. You're either spiraling downward or you can spiral up. Mm-hmm. And yeah, exercise and rest are, again, along with the diet, these are the physical things that any person can do and improve in a very short amount of time. You know, when you're sleeping, your body produces melatonin. That's arguably the most powerful anti-cancer hormone in your body. Melatonin, it's produced when you sleep. And it's a known fact that tumors, for the most part, don't grow at night because melatonin stops their growth. You can also supplement with melatonin. So it works. It's an anti-cancer supplement. But yeah, that, you know, it's the simple things are the ones that are almost always overlooked.
Yeah.
Right. Diet, exercise, and sleep.
Yeah.
Those are the simple things that are so powerful that you can shift very quickly and start seeing benefits right away. And to me, that's exciting, because if I can get someone eating super healthy and exercising daily, they're going to start feeling better really quickly. And they'll start sleeping better.
Yeah.
And then I can say, I told you so. Right. And then I can say, keep going, right? Don't stop, keep going, keep building up that healing momentum, right? It takes time. So we know that 90% of cancers are caused by basically 3 factors. diet, lifestyle, and environment, right? Your poor diet, unhealthy lifestyle habits like smoking, drinking, drug use, not exercising, which leads to obesity, which is the second leading cause of cancer. And then the environment, which we talked about, is environmental factors being toxic pollution that you need to be aware of and eliminate. So, I mean, those physical things, those three physical factors, diet, lifestyle, and environment, are huge. They've got to be addressed. If you want to survive and thrive, you have to change them. And then we already talked about stress, but stress is that underlying root cause that leads us to the unhealthy diet and lifestyle behaviors. Yeah. Environmental factors, that's its own category, right? Because those are things that are sort of out of your control until you open your eyes and realize, oh, okay, I need to move, right? Yeah. I can move. I wasn't doing this to myself on purpose, but I unknowingly took a job where I was exposed to toxic fumes every day, or I unknowingly moved into a neighborhood that has a lot of pollution. So now that I realize this, I need to get my physical body out of here.
Yeah. And we're running out of time. I'll move swiftly on. So number 9 was cancer healing herbs, teas, and supplements. I mean, obviously supplements was the biggest one there. I was lucky to have a whole list scribed for me through, again, my integrative doctor. So that was made easy for me. So I don't know what you want. And I've done a whole video on that. So I don't know what you want to add to that, really.
Well, I mean, yeah, the thing about supplements that I always want people to understand, I could go a lot of different places here, but is that if you're not willing to change your diet and exercise and forgive, don't waste your money on supplements.
Oh, wow.
Right? They're not going to help you, right? Focus on the big things first, right? And there are a number of supplements that I really think are beneficial, and I recommend them in the Square One program. I talk about them, why I like them, the studies behind them, why they can be helpful with cancer. Vitamin D is one of the biggest and most important. And heck, vitamin D will help you whether or not, everyone should be taking it pretty much. But what I see is that a lot of people get caught up in this quick fix or miracle pill mentality where they think, oh, I'm just going to take this anti-cancer herb and cure my cancer. And that's rarely is that going to be your story, right? There's a few stories out there like that, but usually people are getting well because they're changing their whole life, right? And yes, the supplements are giving them some benefit for sure. They're giving them some immune support or detoxification support, or maybe they're blocking certain aspects of cancer metabolism. Like a supplement called artemisinin is one of those that does that, or black cumin seed. But it's important to know, it's important to not get on this wild goose chase where you're chasing after therapies and miracle cures, but you're not willing to actually change your life, right? Because folks that do that, they're really still looking for someone else to cure them.
Yeah.
Right. And your body can heal, but you have to give it the proper nutrients and care.
Yeah.
So supplements are hugely important, but they need to be in the context of a total life change.
Yeah, that's really interesting. The last one, number 10, was testing and monitoring your progress. And of course, the whole issue of scan anxiety, that's probably the worst part of anyone's journey, I think, is the time spent building up to scans. So you do talk about that, obviously. You also talked about things like the Greek blood test, which I did do. And yeah, so I think that was a really good module, actually, in terms of being at the end to get an understanding of where you go from there, and not fearing the result of the scan and how valid a lot of these scans really are, and the choices of scan. Yeah, so there's lots in that module.
Yeah, I tried to be really practical. I mean, the whole course I tried to be practical, but that is the last module 10 is, it's important to understand that you need to monitor your progress. You need to be working with some medical professionals that can order blood work, that can order scans, that can keep an eye on things. Because in some cases, patients, if they decide to go the natural route, they never go back to the doctor, and they don't even know if what they're doing is helping them. And they tend to get, they tend to put the blinders on, or almost maybe have their head in the sand, to use two analogies back to back. And that's not a great place to be. It's better to face the potential scary result of a scan or a test and then address it head on, versus the sort of pretending like everything's okay. I'm sure it's okay. I have no idea, but I'm sure it's fine. That's not really that's not a good strategy. Okay. And as James Cameron said, hope is not a strategy, right? I hope it's okay. Hope is a very powerful thing, but it's not a strategy. So, So in that module, obviously, we're talking about a lot of different types of tests that a person can get access to through their doctor or without a doctor, to monitor their progress, how to approach testing, how to have the right attitude about it, and not be afraid of it, and just acknowledge, the scan anxiety, it's real, right? Because, oh no, what if I get it? I had a colonoscopy recently, and I get nervous before those. I shouldn't, but it's like in the back of your mind, it's like, oh, what if they find colon cancer? They didn't find any colon cancer, so that was good. But anyway, that's, if you're taking control of your life and your health, you have to be willing to change your life, and you have to be willing to sort of embark on an educational journey, right? It's like, look, you got to learn some new things, and this is an adventure. And so you want to treat it as an adventure, and embrace the new knowledge, right? That you need to acquire to help yourself. If you want to be successful in any endeavor, you need to study successful people, right? Yeah. What did they do to get well? What was their attitude like? What was their mindset? What actions did they take? Strategies. And the good news is now we have just countless testimonials online, on YouTube, on my website, and of people who've healed. And so there's more inspiration and encouragement than you really even need out there. I mean, your channel, you're doing a channel, so it's even more. You're adding to all of this wonderful body of encouragement and inspirational content that's available for people who are trying to get well. And so it's a really great thing that's happening. When I was trying to get well, there was no YouTube at all.
Oh,
so there's no social media. Look, there was no YouTube.
The best thing of your Square One program is the Facebook group. I must have bought the program. Oh, I thought I'd go through them all again. You're listening. I didn't. I just dived straight into the Facebook group, and I can totally confirm what you say. It's definitely the best cancer Facebook group out there, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
It's so active. It's so positive.
It's awesome. We've got the most incredible private, support group, online support group. And I think part of the reason is because, everyone in there, they paid for the program, right? They paid for Square One, and we don't have a bunch of just trolls and just a bunch of people jumping in there who don't know what they're talking about, or just trying to cause trouble. Everyone's pretty close to being on the same page. They all understand you got to change your whole life, to help yourself get well. And so there's so much encouragement and support and great testimonials, just, constantly people sharing their scan results or their blood work or whatever. And so, I'm really, really proud of that group. It's
even the fact that when you can't sleep at night in the early days, you can do what you're not meant to do, go onto your phone or whatever, touch base with people awake on the other side of the world, say what's going on or whatever, and immediately you're getting all this positive, loving, productive support. There's nothing else out there like that. That's invaluable. That's just the Facebook group alone is worth paying for.
It is. And that's what we tell people. Everyone, I mean, it's right there on the page for Square One. You know, it's like, this is invaluable. It's worth the cost of the course alone just to be a part of our private group. Yeah, by far. And hopefully Facebook won't delete the group.
Oh God, they even go there. Oh.
Hopefully they won't. You know, they've deleted some other groups. Hopefully they will not delete ours, because it's one of the best things on that website.
It definitely is. Well, thanks so much, Chris, for today. It's been an absolute delight. All those, 5 years ago, I didn't dream that I'd be sitting here today on a Zoom call with you when I had less than 5% chance of surviving. So I wasn't expecting to have been clear the last 4 years of cancer. So
you are a remarkable human. I'm so proud of you. It just makes me I just feel so fulfilled, knowing that you're alive and thriving, and now you're helping others.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, it's just that's the perfect story. Like I said in the beginning, you are why I created this program, Julie. It's you, right? It's I just wanted to be a light in the dark, and hopefully be encouraging, and give anybody who is listening just just a clear set of directions that they could take to change their life. The same things that I did, which are the same things that I've seen so many other people who've healed do. It's the same. We're all doing the same things. We're all doing the same things. I mean, yeah, there's little variations here and there, and some people take one supplement, some people take something else. But generally speaking, we're all doing the same things. We're eating tons of fruits and vegetables. We're exercising. We're forgiving. We're detoxifying. We're removing stress from our life. There is not a single thing in the Square One program that I made up, right? It's none of these ideas are original to me. They're things that I learned from others who came before me, and from my contemporaries as well. And they just all make sense, and they work if you'll do them. I'm just so glad you did them.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you, Julie. Talk soon.
Take care.
Isn't Chris fabulous? So can I just suggest, please can you give me a thumbs up, and hopefully subscribe if you haven't done so already. And look, after that video, I'm really hoping that you'll see that Chris's Square One program is an absolute godsend for anyone with cancer. And so look, get on to www.chrisbeatcancer.com and buy the Square One program. Out of all the things you'll be spending money on, you will have absolutely no regrets about buying that just for the Facebook group alone. So thanks for watching the video, and I promise that I will post another one soon. Lovely to speak to you all.